PR Connections Radio presents
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And on this edition of Vegas Hockey Hub Recaps, we're going to be breaking down the most recent game that happened with your Vegas Golden Knights as they took on the Pittsburgh Penguins. And very good back and forth matchup, and there was a lot of good stuff that we are going to be talking about on this episode here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. Check out the website and go to the website, PRConnectionsRadio.com, and check out all the content on there. We have about a dozen shows on the network, including Vegas Hockey Hub. Also go to the social media pages. We are everywhere on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Vegas Hockey Hub, and also support the network as well, as they have a YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at PR Connections. So getting into everything that's going on there, when it comes to PR Connections Radio, we're doing really good on that end, so I do appreciate that. Now, getting into the action itself, and this is a really interesting game, a solid back-and-forth matchup here when it came to your Vegas Golden Knights. And, you know, this is a really interesting team on the opposite end as well. You have a former dynasty. You have a team that really isn't riding momentum right now at this present moment. I mean, this is a Pittsburgh Penguins team, 21-16-6. So they're doing okay, not great, but they're not doing bad either out there in Pittsburgh. Now, getting into the pregame notes, there was a major note that happened when it came to the Vegas Golden Knights, and that is the fact that you had a goaltender who came back from injury, and unfortunately, he also got hurt coming out of practice. So to everybody let you know what's going on, during the morning skate, Adin Hill, he was taking shots. He was practicing with the organization. He took a puck wrong. He seemed like he was in pain. He skated over to the bench. He was with them for a little bit. He tried to come back to practice. He tried to do a couple of drills, and then he left, and it was just Isaiah Seville and Logan Thompson were the only two goalies that were left in practice. So out of the three goalies, Adin Hill was the only one that left the arena and kind of left practice early. Now, obviously, with Adin Hill being hurt and him missing a certain amount of time, this is something that you did not want to see when it came to the Vegas Golden Knights organization. And to see Adin Hill back in practice was a good situation. I was very happy to see that Adin Hill was back in action, was back in practice suiting up for the Golden Knights. But he must have just taken a puck wrong, or if he maybe just got a stinger. Hopefully, that's the best case scenario, is that it was just a stinger, or maybe it was just something that happened that kind of just, you know, was a little bit of a loose left situation there. But when it came to Adin Hill, him skating off and him looking like he maybe got hurt once again, it just really shows you that his body is just not holding up, unfortunately, for your Vegas Golden Knights. So this was kind of the big news that came out of morning skate and came out of the practice this morning for your Vegas Golden Knights. The fact that Adin Hill has once again gotten hurt in practice, and he left the morning skate early after taking one of those pucks wrong. Also, in the roster moves that we saw, Michael Amadio put on IR. Michael Amadio, he did miss the most recent game that happened before this one, and it seemed like Michael Amadio is unfortunately dealing with a situation there on his end. Now, we're not going to speculate here on Vegas Hockey Hub Recap what the situation is with Michael Amadio or how long he's going to be out for. But when it comes to Michael Amadio, it just seems like it's unfortunate, but it's going to be a key member of the middle six that's just not going to be with Vegas for a while. We saw that the most recent game, you had Sheldon Rempel, who was in his replace on the third line there. You had Bryson, and then you had Howden. That was really kind of the situation on those lines for the Vegas Golden Knights. So, yeah, that's kind of a crushing blow there for Michael Amadio to be put on IR for the Vegas Golden Knights, and even one that's even worse. And you see at the end of that there, William Karlsson put on long-term IR. And for a goal scorer and for someone who's a day one like William Karlsson, he's really been missing since the Seattle game. Seattle was actually where the injury seemed like it happened. He has not been skating up for over the last couple of games. In fact, he's missed a certain amount of action for the Vegas Golden Knights. He was originally put on IR, and now he is being put on long-term IR. So very unfortunate situation there with William Karlsson. We wish him the best. Hopefully he recovers from that situation there. But yeah, William Karlsson seems like he's going to miss some time. I wouldn't be shocked if it's Edmonton or Arizona in a couple of games if William Karlsson does come back. But I don't expect him to be back for the New Jersey game, New York, or maybe even the Detroit game. I'd be shocked if he came back for one of those, considering on long-term IR. And before we get into the actual game itself, I do want to mention something that we missed from the New York recap. There was a New York Rangers recap that we just recently did. It was the most recent game before this one. And I failed to mention that Jonathan Quick got a tribute video. He got a standing ovation during the New York Rangers game. Because we were talking about so much stuff that happened with the Rangers and Golden Knights game, that I just did not mention the Jonathan Quick standing ovation that he got in his first game back with the Golden Knights. Now, Jonathan Quick won a Stanley Cup with the Golden Knights this past season. That's why he got the standing ovation. That's why there was a video that was played. But making the recap for this show and talking about someone who we're going to mention very soon, it was brought to my attention that we did not talk about Jonathan Quick, so I just wanted to quickly mention that. And before we start breaking down the game itself, once again in net, your goaltender for the Vegas Golden Knights is Logan Thompson. And Logan Thompson, like I said, has been a workhorse. This is his 5th start in a row. So this will be the 5th start in a row for Logan Thompson. And it's going to be a really interesting situation to see how Logan Thompson performs considering the winning streak that he has had. I mean, he has had a really good winning streak for the Vegas Golden Knights organization. So, yeah, Logan Thompson, 5th start in a row. He has just been a workhorse over the last couple of games. He has won 4 of his last 5 starts for the Vegas Golden Knights. So if there's anyone in net that you would want to be for the Vegas Golden Knights, anyone you want to hold down the fort and kind of keep the fortress alive and keep it on the winning streak, that would be Logan Thompson for sure. Now, as the game kicked off between these two teams, Noel Acciari had a tripping penalty for Pittsburgh. He ended up tripping Chandler Stevenson. So the Pittsburgh Penguins, they went to the box. That was the first power play opportunity for the Vegas Golden Knights in the first 5 minutes of the game. And the Vegas Golden Knights did not capitalize on the power play. They went 0 for 1 here, unfortunately. Now, when it comes to the Golden Knights organization and really seeing what they did in this game against Pittsburgh, somebody that you did have to notice and someone you really have to pay attention to is Chandler Stevenson. Because Chandler Stevenson, not only did he get 5 shots on net in this game, but more importantly, with Chandler Stevenson, there was actually an opportunity on certain opportunities in this game where he was making the right read, where he was making the good opportunities for Vegas. But Chandler Stevenson, really in the first period, there was one opportunity for him that I did see that he was able to actually get near the goal and actually had an opportunity to score. Just unfortunately, the execution just did not happen, and the Vegas Golden Knights stayed at 0 after the Noel Acciari penalty. And then here it is. Here's the thing that I was talking about. I wish we had the video for it, but copyright is copyright. Riley Smith getting a tribute video. Now, he was not skating up for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He is not playing for the Pittsburgh Penguins right now as he is injured. But Riley Smith, the fan favorite, the misfit, the guy who is beloved by the Vegas Golden Knights, he gets his tribute video. It was a standing ovation. It was a loud applause from the fans at T-Mobile Arena. And what an incredible situation there to really pay back and give respect to Riley Smith for what he has done with the Golden Knights organization. I mean, when you're with someone for 6 seasons and you win a Stanley Cup at the end of those 6 seasons, just an incredible career. What a fantastic moment there. So once again, towards the middle of the first period, they stopped everything and they had their tribute video for Riley Smith. And he's going to be such an iconic career with Vegas. He's going to be beloved by the Vegas Golden Knights. As someone who is a Chicago Cubs fan, for example, when Chris Bryant eventually comes back and he plays his first ever game at Wrigley Field for the Colorado Rockies, he is going to get that standing ovation, just like Riley Smith got that standing ovation in this game against Pittsburgh. So, yeah, Riley Smith definitely deserved a tribute video for everything he did for the Golden Knights organization. So, Riley Smith, I will always give a lot of tribute for. One of my favorite players on the Golden Knights organization, a class act. Now, towards the end of the first period, there was a second opportunity for the Vegas Golden Knights to get on the power play as Drew O'Connor had a tripping penalty against Braden McNabb. So the Golden Knights would get their second opportunity towards the end of the first period. And the Golden Knights just once again just did not execute on the power play. So it would stay a 0-0 game towards the end of the first period. And it just really shows that the Vegas Golden Knights power play, sometimes they're on it and then sometimes they're just not. And it just really feels like sometimes they're in the green and they're making a lot of good passes and they're making solid moves and getting the puck in the back of the net. And then there's that red where it's just that red light. There's no opportunity there. And it just seems like the Golden Knights kind of just get stuck in neutral on the power play at certain moments against certain teams. A funny moment that happened towards the end of the first period with about a minute left, there was a stop in the game. So they went to the crowd and they showed New York Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers, who was actually in attendance. Now, Aaron Rodgers, he was at the game and they showed him on the Titantron, and a very funny moment, he was getting booed way more than getting cheered by the Golden Knights fans. Now, for someone who does not know, Aaron Rodgers, he used to be the Green Bay Packers quarterback. There's a huge Chicago community here in Vegas. I also know from Pittsburgh Penguins perspective, they are Pittsburgh Steelers fans, and they lost to the Green Bay Packers in the Super Bowl when Aaron Rodgers was their quarterback. So, yeah, there was obviously a lot of booing with Aaron Rodgers, and it did make a lot of sense considering what he has done as a Packer and as a Jet. So that was just kind of a funny moment to end the first period. Aaron Rodgers getting booed by Golden Knights fans and Penguins fans alike because he was at the game. So that was a funny moment there. So at the end of the first period, the Golden Knights and Penguins tied at 0. And then the second period, it just really got off to a bad start for the Golden Knights. Unfortunately, it just ended up becoming a situation where it seemed like the momentum and the energy for the Golden Knights just started to fall off. And unfortunately for the Golden Knights organization, this would actually become the first goal given up in the game as Ryan Graves, the former Colorado Avalanche, the former New Jersey Devil, the defenseman scored his third goal of the season, assisted by Erik Karlsson and Evgeny Malkin to make it a 1-0 game, a deficit for Vegas towards the middle of the second period. And just unfortunately, just a sloppy situation there. It just seemed like the Golden Knights just weren't hustling enough in the second period. And then a unfortunate situation, the Golden Knights would get on the penalty kill for the first time as Nick Waugh would have a holding penalty against Ryan Graves. So the Golden Knights would get on the penalty kill. And a positive for Vegas that I will give credit to, and we do have to acknowledge, the Vegas Golden Knights were 100% on the penalty kill in this game. They killed off every single penalty. Their penalty kill was on it in this game. So even though Nick Waugh had a holding penalty, the Golden Knights were able to kill it off against Pittsburgh. So overall, really solid game, and I give a lot of credit to the Vegas Golden Knights organization for doing what they needed to do and killing off these penalties. So something that they had a huge negative with towards the beginning of the month, they are now at a positive. So it's kind of funny how it turns out there. Now, with a few minutes left in the second period, unfortunately for the Vegas Golden Knights, they would actually be down by 2 as Jake Gunzel would have his 20th goal of the season, assisted by Marcus Peterson and Sidney Crosby. So Sidney Crosby getting in there with the assist, Penguins legend himself, future Hall of Famer. But yeah, Pittsburgh Penguins, they just opened up that 2-goal lead at T-Mobile Arena for the Vegas Golden Knights. And it was unfortunate, but the energy just seemed depleted at that point. The Golden Knights, they kind of seemed like the forecheck just wasn't really there, pounding into the boards. It wasn't as much as they normally do. And when it came to the Golden Knights organization, I just didn't see the hustle in that second period. It just seems like the Golden Knights in that second period was just stuck in neutral. I've said this before. The Golden Knights just seemed like they were at a red light, just waiting for that red light to turn green in the second period. Just not a lot of go, 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 go. And then getting towards the end of the second period, and this is actually something that I didn't want to see, and a lot of Golden Knights fans did not want to see. Zach Whitecloud went down the tunnel towards the end of the second period. It seemed like Zach Whitecloud is possibly hurt for the Vegas Golden Knights. So that's something we're going to have to watch out for with him going down the tunnel. Now, the good news was he did come back in the third period. He was on the bench. He did skate around. He did have some time on ice. But anytime you see a player go down the tunnel, it normally means one of two instances. It normally means either one, they lost a skate or they had an equipment issue and they had to go down and get it fixed. That's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario is that a guy got injured and they had to go down and get and check out with the doc. So hopefully for Zach Whitecloud, it's not the second option. But anytime you go down the tunnel, that is a scary situation there. So after 2 periods, Vegas would be down 2-0 in this game. But your Vegas Golden Knights would persevere here. And more importantly, for your Vegas Golden Knights, the energy came back in the third period. Like the energy that was lacking in that second period that seemed like it was gone, it came back to life in the beginning of the third period. As your Vegas Golden Knights, they started to shoot. And yes, they started to shoot a good amount. There was guys like Pavel Dorofeyev who had 4 shots in this game. Chandler Stevenson who had 5. You even got to see some shots from the very young Brendan Brisson and Jonathan Marchessault doing what he does for the Vegas Golden Knights. And this actually led to some opportunities for the Vegas Golden Knights. So for the Vegas Golden Knights, with 5 minutes into the third period, this would create the first goal of the game as Jonathan Marchessault, the guy who has really been carrying this team on his back over the last month. Jonathan Marchessault, he scores and would be assisted by Alec Martinez and Ivan Barbashev. So it'd be a 2-1 game, 2 for Pittsburgh, 1 for Vegas. And for Jonathan Marchessault to get the first goal of the game for Vegas really set the tone here. It set the tone that Jonathan Marchessault, he is a guy that when you put the puck on his stick and you trust him to go down the ice and create that offensive zone, he is someone who I would trust. Probably him and Jack Eichel are 2 people that I would really trust with that puck when going from the neutral zone and getting into the offensive zone. So Jonathan Marchessault doing what he is doing this season, and considering that he did score a goal in the last game as well, he has just been really tearing it up this season. And the Vegas Golden Knights would not stop with the scoring. So after Jonathan Marchessault opens up the game and gets the first goal of the game, 1 minute later, you would have the very young, a guy who's really developed on the middle six, Pavel Dorofeyev, with his 6th goal of the season. And just like that, 6 minutes into the second period, Pavel Dorofeyev would get the goal there, tie it up at 2, assisted by Chandler Stevenson and the captain of the Vegas Golden Knights. So, yeah, really interesting situation there that Pavel Dorofeyev has really come into his own. He has really elevated himself on that middle 6. And with considering his age and the lack of games he had in the NHL heading into this season, he has just really taken off and has progressed at an alarming rate in a good way for the Vegas Golden Knights. So Pavel Dorofeyev, 6th goal of the season. And here's where an opportunity ended up creating itself for the Vegas Golden Knights. So at the 7-minute mark in the 3rd period, Evgeny Malkin had a slashing penalty against Ivan Barbashev, and that would create an NV Energy power play opportunity for the Vegas Golden Knights. And even though they wouldn't score on the power play, as Malkin is coming out of the box and they're creating a line change, you would have the game-winning goal. And out of all people that this could have came from, it comes from their 2020 first-round pick. That's right, Brendan Brisson with his first ever goal in the NHL, assisted by Alex Pietrangelo and Ivan Barbashev to give it the game-winning goal for the Vegas Golden Knights at the halfway point of the 3rd period. I mean, what an incredible moment and what a fantastic statement for Brendan Brisson to finally get that monkey off his back and to achieve what he's probably always hoped for in his entire career. I mean, what he's done since he was a kid, getting into the NHL. So for Brendan Brisson to get that first one, that is special for him. And for Alex Pietrangelo to set it up there, Ivan Barbashev helping out as well. So Ivan Barbashev really taking off over the last couple of weeks, and Alex Pietrangelo being the steady rock that he has been on defense. So halfway into the 3rd period, it changed the whole mentality. It changed the way Vegas looked, because you went from being down 2 to begin the 3rd period to then halfway in the period being up by 1. Just an incredible comeback by the Golden Knights. They just did a really solid job in this game. And as the 3rd period was coming to a close with about a minute left, Brian Rust would get a slashing penalty against Alex Pietrangelo. That would create a power play opportunity for Vegas, but it would be unnecessary as the Vegas Golden Knights would pick up the win. It would get a 3-2 victory in Vegas at T-Mobile Arena at the Fortress. So solid job there by Vegas. Incredible situation there. And with your Vegas Golden Knights picking up the victory, it just really created that solid momentum that Vegas is finally having. It feels like for the first time in forever, the Golden Knights are on an upward trajectory. You know, they had a lot of downward momentum, really in the last month. They've had a lot of negatives, but now it feels like they've pivoted and they've gone back up into the upward situation there. And it will be mentioned that it was a nice comeback by the Golden Knights, being able to come back and fight adversity and overcome a 2-goal deficit. That was a fantastic job by the Golden Knights. Logan Thompson, him making those saves in the 3rd period was incredible by him. Logan Thompson did an amazing job in this game when you analyze what he had to do in this game. So in the 3rd period, I mean, Pittsburgh, it wasn't like they just gave up. I mean, in this 3rd period, the Pittsburgh Penguins, they really did what they needed to do in this game. I mean, this was just a situation where the Golden Knights, I mean, this is just a Golden Knights team that, you know, you look at the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they were taking shots. They were going up against Logan Thompson, and LT was just stopping them all. So overall, a good job by Logan Thompson, and he was one of the guys who helped lead this 2-goal comeback by the Vegas Golden Knights. And speaking of that winning streak that I mentioned earlier on, Vegas Golden Knights on a 3-game winning streak. You beat the Nashville Predators 4-1. You beat the New York Rangers 5-1. And now you've beaten the Pittsburgh Penguins 3-2 here at T-Mobile Arena. They also went 4-1. I almost said 3-2. 4-1 on the homestand. So in this 5-game homestand at T-Mobile Arena, they go out with a record of 4-1. So that's 8 solid points. So you get 8 points out of 10 on this 5-game homestand at T-Mobile Arena. That is near perfect for the Golden Knights organization. And what matters now is the 4-game road trip they're about to encounter. This is a Vegas Golden Knights team that the next 4 games are going to be on the road. They're going to be going up to the Northeast, and it's going to be very impactful for your Golden Knights to see how they end the end of the schedule here in these next 4 games. Very impactful for your Golden Knights. And here is the win-loss record for your Vegas Golden Knights. You see on the screen right now. So overall, your Vegas Golden Knights are still in the playoff hunt. They're still in a good chance of doing something really productive in the Pacific Division right now. Obviously, the Vancouver Canucks, if you've seen the standings as of late, they have kind of been the number 1 team in the Pacific. But Vegas right there, you have LA, you have Edmonton. So it seems like there's really been a solid fight to see who's going to be building up momentum and who's going to be taking the number 2 spot in the Pacific. So hopefully it's Vegas. Hopefully Vegas can keep up this momentum. And over the next 4 games, not to project here, but if the next 4 games, if you can win 3 out of 4, then you can get 6 out of 8. That would be amazing towards getting a number 2 seed in the Pacific Division. But it all just depends on what happens with Edmonton and LA and all the teams that are kind of around the territory of Vegas. And considering the momentum of Edmonton, too. Edmonton's really been taking off with McDavid doing what McDavid's been doing over the last 5 years. And then getting into the player of the game, we do this for every Vegas Hockey Hub recap. And it has to go with the guy who won the game-winning goal, the guy who has his first ever goal in the NHL. Of course, we're talking about Brendan Brisson. So congratulations to Brendan Brisson. What an achievement. What an accomplishment for him. And because of that, he gets player of the game for your Vegas Golden Knights. And the last part we have to get into is the team stats in this game. Vegas outshot Pittsburgh 29-25. Pittsburgh outhit Vegas 22-18. Vegas only got 1 penalty in this game, whereas Pittsburgh had 4. The face-off situation, Pittsburgh did outperform Vegas as Pittsburgh won 56% of their face-offs. So the face-off circle did go to Pittsburgh in this game at T-Mobile Arena. You also have to look more at the in-depth stats here between Pittsburgh and Vegas. And you see that the block shots, Vegas had 18, Pittsburgh had 14. And the takeaways were kind of similar between the two. Vegas had 7, Pittsburgh had 1 more with 8. Now, the power play opportunities for both teams, Vegas went 0 for 4, Pittsburgh went 0 for 1. So 1 for 1 on the penalty kill and 4 for 4 on the penalty kill between these two teams there. So overall, your Vegas Golden Knights picking up a solid victory here. And this is going to be the end of the Vegas Hockey Hub recap. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And until next time, continue watching hockey, go support junior hockey, and go Knights, go.